Welcome to the Let's Talk Seahawks podcast. I'm your host, Robert Smith, along with my co-host, Adam Carver-Stellman. And today, we'll be going over our top 10 prospects as tight ends in the 2023 NFL Draft. Adam, let's talk Seahawks.
Let's talk draft. Let's talk tight ends. This is another one of those ones that I've been looking forward to, I think, because you and I have some really strong opinions about this tight end class. And it's another one of those insanely deep positions. I think this is right behind wide receiver in that you're going to find NFL starters throughout all 7 rounds. I fully expect the Seahawks to take advantage of this. They will draft at least one tight end this year, put it in the books. It's going to happen. Who that is and where it'll be, we don't know. I've definitely got my favorites, and I know you do too.
Exactly. All right, so let's get underway. As you can see, we're setting this up in 3 tiers. We each rank our top 5 prospects, so those 5 together make a top 10. But we do have 10 names on each one of our lists. 6 through 8 are going to be our mid-round, 3rd to 6th round guys. And then 9, 10 will be our late round prospects and guys that we think are really interesting and some players that you want to keep an eye out for. All right. So at number 10 in our late round tier, I have Braden Willis out of Oklahoma, and Adam has Mason Fairchild out of Kansas. There are a couple guys in every position group that I just like, and Braden Willis is one of those. He gets my gamer tag. That means this guy is willing to do whatever is required of him. He's going to get in there and do the dirty work. I mean, this guy played Wildcat quarterback for them. I mean, not often do you have a tight end who's going to come in there and play a little Wildcat. I mean, he lined up all over the field. He lined up in the slot. He lined up in line. He lined up in the backfield. I mean, this guy does whatever they need him to do. And another thing I like about him, this is a blocking tight end. I mean, he has athleticism, right? He can move around the field. But he had an 80.3 run block grade from Pro Football Focus. That is pretty impressive. He's a great lead blocker coming around the edge. I could see somebody using him as a fullback. There's a ton of good things to like about Braden Willis, and he's an improving wide receiver. His receiving grade was a 63.7, so he definitely needs to work on the route running, work on the little things, release, get off, fighting off of defenders. But yeah, he's a prospect that I think could be on an NFL roster for a long time if they're able to use him properly.
Yeah, look, I don't know a ton about Braden Willis. I've definitely seen him play a couple of times, having watched some of the Oklahoma games. But yeah, I'm going to take your word for it. I have to go back and watch a little bit more game tape on him. But yeah, there's always going to be a guy. I think that the Seahawks. I mean, they love undrafted free agents. They love getting a big class in. I fully expect there's going to be a couple of guys they're going to want to take a look at. Hopefully, your guy and my guy will both be part of that class.
All right. So at number 10 for you is a player I was not familiar with until recently, and that's Mason Fairchild out of Kansas.
Yeah, look, so he kind of found his way onto my radar because I've got an old GM that's a really close friend that I talk to all the time. That is a Kansas Jayhawk alum. Is one of those guys that is always there, cheering on his school, goes to as many games a year as he can. Loves to do nothing but talk about Jayhawks, basketball, football, everything, girls volleyball, you name it. So we were talking about this upcoming draft a couple weeks ago, and he said, "Hey, do you know anything about any of our guys?" I said, "I really don't." He said, "We'll take a look at our tight end Mason Fairchild." And this was him coming on. This was right after I think they played Arkansas, and he had a monster game against Arkansas. He was targeted 8 times. I think he caught 7 out of the 8 balls. Went for 80 yards and a touchdown. But just kind of took over that game receiving. This is a kid who he's a local guy. He grew up in Kansas and has just slow. He wasn't really a football player in high school, but started playing football, I think, his senior year, and then obviously was a walk-on at Kansas and has just improved leaps and bounds every single year. I think he played in 2 games his freshman year. and then saw the field his sophomore year, and then by the end of his senior year, he was their go-to guy in the passing game. A really fluid athlete, good mover. He's not going to burn you. I mean, he's not one of those guys that's got great straight line speed, but great hands. I think he had 2 drops his entire college career. So this guy catches everything that's thrown at him. Great hands. He's a willing blocker. Definitely needs to improve there. This is one of those guys that you kind of look at and you go, he's kind of built kind of funny. He's definitely a little top heavy for a tight end. Doesn't have a really thick legs or really thick rear end. So he's going to probably have to be in the gym and put some weight on if he wants to be a willing blocker at the next level. But a guy that, by all accounts, really great locker room guy, and a guy that I do not think is tapped into his full potential. So it'd be fun to see him make a camp. If he does go to Seattle, I fully expect that he'll be on the practice squad. But I think this is a guy that does have a future in the NFL.
Nice. Yeah. When I looked at him, let's see, my notes are he has soft hands, but limited athleticism. He can move around the field, but he's not pulling away from anybody. He can create separation, but he's going to get what he can get. He's not making people miss and moving the ball downfield. You're right. He needs to improve to be an effective blocker. That's an important part of being a tight end in my book. And that's an area he definitely needs to improve on. I see him as an undrafted free agent, which for a player like this isn't a bad thing because he should get a couple opportunities. I could see a few teams reaching out and trying to take a flyer on him as an undrafted free agent. And that means he'll get to choose where he gets to go so he can go to the best place for him to succeed. So I like the prospect. Let's see where he shakes out when all this is said and done. Our number 9 prospects on our list. I have Brenton Strange out of Penn State, and Adam has Cameron Latu out of Alabama. Brenton Strange is a very interesting prospect to me. I think he could go maybe a little bit higher than I have him slated right now. He could actually end up going in that late third, fourth round. He's getting some good buzz right now. There's some really good stuff coming out. You kind of feel the senses changing, and he's moving up draft boards. He's an inline tight end. He took snaps at fullback. He took 90 snaps last season in the backfield. So he has experience playing off the line as a lead blocker. He can run routes out of that position as well. If somebody was looking to have a hybrid tight end, H-back, fullback kind of guy, this is somebody that might look at. Really good contact balance. He is really hard to get down. A lot of forced missed tackles, people trying to bring him down in space, and he fights through contact. He's a decent blocker. He had a 60.5 grade in blocking. I think that might be skewed a little bit the way that he was used. And he's a reliable receiver, grading out in the low 70s at 73.2. So he's somebody who could make an impact on a lot of rosters out there. Definitely, I like Brenton Strange.
Yeah, I think that you're going to see him drop a little bit in this draft. I don't think that has anything to do with him. I don't think it's about the prospect. Although I do think that he's one of those guys that projects to be a tight end 3. If for like those big packages along the line when you're in goal line sets. I think he needs to work a lot on his pass catching. He's not a natural pass catcher. This is not a guy that was, could have played tight end, but it's just big enough that they moved him to, or could have played wide receiver, was just big enough that they moved him to tight end. But he's a really good athlete. And he's definitely got all the tools to succeed. I think that because of how deep this tight end draft class is, I do think you're going to see guys like him falling to those later rounds. I definitely think he's going to get drafted, but I could see him being a 5th or even 6th round. But I do like him. He was. I considered putting him on my list. I just happen to like other guys a little bit better. All
right. How about Cameron Latu?
Cameron Latu. Yeah. Look, you know that I've got a thing about Alabama players. I don't normally like putting them on any list. I don't like the Tide. Not a big fan of the school. I mean, they're the freaking Patriots of college football, and nobody outside of New England likes the Patriots, and nobody outside of Alabama likes the Crimson Tide. And there's a reason for it. But Cameron Latu is just one of those guys that I couldn't leave off my list because he was fun to watch. This is a guy who has played both sides of the ball. He's been a defensive end. He's that kind of athlete. But I believe that he played all 3 years at Alabama at tight end. Wasn't really their receiving tight end for the first part of his stay there, but was used a lot as they moved as he got older and guys got drafted and moved off the roster. This is another guy that I do not think has reached his ceiling in the college level. I think he's got room to grow. He's a really, really good athlete. This guy can move really well. He's strong, fast, athletic, and I think has a pretty high ceiling. But the reason that he's going to be a late round draft is because he just didn't have that kind of production in college. But there are few times when I like saying nice things about Alabama players, but Cameron Latu is a player that I'd like to see in the NFL. So.
All right. So we have differing opinions on Cameron Latu. I'm sure he's a swell guy. But
I've never met him, Robbie.
As far as a football player goes, some good things. He has really good game awareness, has a really high football IQ. You can see that when he's out there working on the field. His receiving grade, not great. It was a 60.6 last year, and his blocking grade was a 50 even. So he did not stand out in either one of those categories. But when he is blocking, he's a real high effort blocking guy. He might not be really effective, but he's going to give his 100% every time he goes after a block, which I can say, okay, blocking negative, but this effort, this high motor, that's positive for the player. And then I don't think he's the best athlete. I think that limits him a lot as an offensive weapon. There's not a ton they can do. He's not out there as a fast guy. He's not a real strong guy. So I think he doesn't really stand in one of those categories or another.
Yeah, I mean he's not like, I mean, we'll get to there are some athletic freaks at tight end, and two of them that I will be talking about a little bit later in this. But I think the reason he's going to be a later round guy, I do even think that it's possible that he does not get drafted and is another one of those like priority free agents. But he's a good football guy, and I think high IQ. Again, this is a guy who was a defender when he started his college career, and then switched over to the offensive side of the ball. So you can see that he still understands defenses, which is why he's a good contributor along that way. You're right; he's not a freak athlete, but I do think, but he's a very fluid athlete. This guy is, he doesn't have a lot of. I don't think you can put a lot more weight on him. I don't think he's one of those guys that can bulk up when you get there. I think he's probably about as big as he's ever going to get. And that might be a little bit of something, but he's 240 pounds. It's not like this is a small guy at all. But yeah, he's my, if you want to talk about ballers, this guy loves the game of football and he plays hard. So that's why I like him.
Yeah. I mean, you got to love some of those intangible things. All right. Coming in at number 8, kind of the first of our mid-round guys, our middle tier. I have Luke Schoonmaker out of Michigan, and you have Will Mallory out of Miami.
Yeah.
So Luke Schoonmaker, traditional inline tight end. I mean, this guy's going to give you a good, effective blocking. He didn't grade out very well, but when you watch him on film, he blocks more effectively than he's graded. So that's another one of those cases where I question Pro Football Focus's grading a little bit. I like to use it because they at least grade everybody on the same things. So the grade should be clear across the board for everybody. But Schoonmaker was a bit more effective than a 55 grade would say to me. And he's a willing blocker. He will get in there and mix it up with the big guys and try to get his teammates in space. He's a good athlete. His receiving grade was a 78, so he's pushing into that good, great category. Though he is an older prospect. He will be 25 when the season starts. So one of those guys who's coming off of the extra year because of COVID, which is making them older. I don't consider that to be a negative, but he's one of those guys that falls into that older category.
Yeah, look. This is, I think, a testament to how deep this tight end draft class is. Because I think in a weaker year, Schoonmaker's going to be going in the top probably 10 or 15 at the position. This is a guy who could easily have been taken, if you compare him to the last couple of drafts and tight ends that were taken in like the second, third round, he compares really, really well with them as far as the skill set, size, speed. He's one of those guys that I think you're going to see him probably have a better NFL career than he had college career because he's just that good of an athlete. Big guy, 6'5", 251 pounds. He's pretty much your prototypical tight end. I think if you were to close your eyes and say, hey, what does an NFL tight end look like? You'd probably envision Luke Schoonmaker.
I completely agree. Now, Will Mallory is kind of a different player than Schoonmaker. Why is Will Mallory your number 8?
Will Mallory's might because I think he's just a really interesting prospect. This is another one of those guys. There's a couple of guys in this draft that I think are pretty polarizing prospects at the position. I think Will Mallory is one of them, not quite as much as another guy that we'll talk to about a little bit down the way. But this guy has if you look at him come off the line, out of his stance, he is explosive. Hasn't really translated to a lot of production on the field. His stats and his ratings aren't that good, but I think he has all the tools to develop into a really, really good NFL tight end. This is a guy who like I said, I think he's got everything there. If you can find a team that can coach him up and fit him into their scheme, then he's going to look great for you. I think that if we go away from one of our receiving tight ends, which I think is a possibility either before or after this draft, I think he's a good guy to kind of bring in and work up into the rotation behind some of those guys that we've had on the roster a little bit longer. But I do think that he can contribute from day one. So again, that's a testament to how deep this draft class is. I think this is a guy that hasn't played up to his potential.
Yeah, he is a receiver only tight end. Right? Because he's not a tight end. He's just a really big wide receiver. Yeah. He tried to do some blocking. His blocking grade by PFF was a 36, which is probably the lowest grade in any category I've seen. He does have.
I did say he was polarized.
Yeah, amazing athleticism. I mean, this guy ran a 4.54 40, 36.5-inch vert. He's a good receiver. He scored out as a receiver as a 78. I mean, he is a plus receiver. He's just don't have him anywhere near the line of scrimmage. He needs to be at least 3-4 yards away from your tackles. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know that if he really fits in with the Seahawks,
what they like at the position. However, we have seen them take guys like him before and been able to coach them up to be at least passable blockers in the NFL. And it's not like he can't do it. He's got the body size. He's got the strength. It's not like he can't block. I just think he needs to be trained up.
Fair enough. All right. Coming in at number 7, we have, for my list, I know one of your favorite players in this draft, Jack.
Yeah, I'm going to save some of my stuff for later.
Dominion. And then you listed Brenton Strange, who we talked about earlier when he was on my list.
Just to double check. I believe that's a misspelling. His name is Zack.
Is it? Did I mess
Zack.
that one up?
It is definitely Zack.
My bad. And it's probably going to be wrong elsewhere because I probably copied and pasted it. So,
all right, cool.
My apologies to Zack Kuntz for having issues.
No, please tell us about this Jack Kuntz that you have as your number 7 tight end. I'm really interested.
My bad. All right. Anyway.
All right.
Thank you for that. So
you're welcome.
I'm going to go ahead and just list a couple bullet points and then let you take it away, and you can go ahead and fill us in on what you like about Zack.
I feel like I want to save it, but yeah. Go ahead.
So he's a big body guy, 6'8", 245 pounds. He does have some injury concerns. If you look at his collegiate history, something that I'm sure the teams are doing their due diligence on for the medical. He's an average receiver and blocker right now. He has a ton of potential, but both his receiving and blocking graded out at about a 67. So kind of right in that average category. High potential, high ceiling, great athlete. 4.55 in the 40, 40-inch vertical, 4.12 in the short shuttle, and 6.87 in the 3-cone. I mean, these are elite numbers, especially for a guy who's 6'8". That's insane. So, I mean, he could be a Swiss Army knife out there.
Yeah, look, if he had played up to what his physical skill set shows as potential in college, this man would easily be in that 1, 2, 3 tight ends on the list. I still have him quite a bit higher than you, actually. Or just 2 spots. We'll see him come up later. But yeah, no, this man is a freak athlete. He is just a freak athlete. Yeah, I know that sometimes that's oh yeah, cool, he's a gym guy. And he might be. Look, he did not show in college that he could translate those physical skills onto the field. But I'm as high at him as I am because I think his potential. There's only one other guy in this draft who has more potential at the tight end position than Zack Kuntz. Only one. So if the Seahawks don't go for a guy early and are looking for a guy on either early on day 3 or late on day 2, man, I hope they take a look at Zack Kuntz because I want to see what he can bring to the NFL game.
Yeah, he's an exciting prospect for sure. That's Zack Kuntz. Once again, my bad. All right. Coming in at number 6, I have Josh Whale from Cincinnati, and here's where you have Luke Schoonmaker from Michigan.
Yeah. Like I said, the reason. Oh, go ahead. Let's talk about Whale. We've already talked about Schoonmaker.
Oh, you're good. So for me, Josh Whale, he's an average receiver, graded out right around that 70 mark, and blocker 69. So right in the same realm, kind of the same that I was saying about Zack Kuntz is he's average, which is good because he's an inline traditional tight end, but he could do more. And that's the thing. I see a lot of potential in him, and that's why he's my number 6, is because I see some of those traits. I know he can be developed. A lot of those things are improving. If you watch some of his tape from early in the season, and then you watch his tape later in the season, you see progression and improvement in a lot of areas of his game. And he's another one of these guys that has great size. He's 6'6", 245 pounds. That's that prototypical size that you want in that tight end. I like him. I think he's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I mean, Josh Whale was one of those guys I definitely considered for my list. He just, I didn't have a spot to put him, again, because I like some of these guys a little bit better. But the thing I think that where he stands out and why I think you put him as high on the list as you do is as far as body control goes, this guy, I mean, he moves in a way like basketball players do. Like he literally knows every part of his body and how to use it to get a defender out of his way, whether it be faking him out with his head, so he's going one way and he'll be running another, using his hands. He's a guy to watch. I do think that he's probably being slept on a little bit. I would not be surprised to see him go really early in day 2, mid-second round, because I do think, like you said, he's got that kind of potential. I didn't do it. I'm sorry, I don't have any notes on him, and I wish I did, because like I said, I did take a look at him and consider him for my list. But yeah, he's definitely an interesting prospect for sure.
Yeah. And did you have anything else to say about Luke Schoonmaker before we move on?
No, look, the reason I like I said, I think Schoonmaker's one of those guys who has a really, really high ceiling, and I don't think that his college career showed what potential he could actually bring to the field. He could legit be a really, really good tight end in the NFL. Another one of those guys where I think this is just how deep this tight end class is. I mean, all of these guys that we have listed, maybe not Mason Fairchild, but most of these guys that we have listed, but also because of how deep it is, a lot of them could be available later. So it's going to be interesting to kind of watch how that board plays out, because we know there's always runs in every round on certain positions. But this is just such a deep tight end class.
Yes, it is. All right. So now we're going to get to our top 5.
Let's do it.
And in our top 5, our number 5 player, for me, I have Tucker Kraft out of South Dakota State. And you have Zack Kuntz out of Old Dominion.
Yeah, the twin brother of Jack Kuntz.
Apparently, yes. I got it right on one part of the
Well, sort of. It's Zack with a K. But sorry, Zack. You can tell that we really love you. Look, I've got Zack. Let's talk about Tyler Kraft. We've already talked about Zack. Or Tucker Kraft.
Tucker Kraft. So he's a well-rounded prospect. He can be an inline tight end, but he also has the athletic ability to be a move tight end, kind of in that receiver mold. He's a better receiver than he is blocker, but they're closer to equal than some of these other guys who have that same sort of tag after their name. He had a 76.6 receiver grade and a 69.6 blocking grade. So he's one of those guys who can be effective for you in multiple aspects of the game. You can leave him in inline and run behind him, and he's going to be just as effective as if you want to move him out and let him play off the line a little bit as a receiver. He's got that prototypical size. He's 6'5", 255 pounds. One negative is that he's coming out of the FCS world where he was the primary receiver. So he has a lot of volume, a lot of experience catching the ball on the field, but it was against lower competition.
Yeah, I think he was just not in a really good scheme for his skill set. I think that if you look at him, the way he's built, this is another guy that's got a really, really strong base. He's very thick in the lower half. He's built kind of like a box. He looks like a prototypical inline tight end physically. But yeah, he wasn't really used that way. So I think that this is one of those guys you kind of want to watch. Does he get into a system where he is being utilized a little bit more as a blocking tight end, and then kind of sneak out, because he's a sneaky fast, not fast. He's kind of one of those slower guys, but he's still pretty fleet of foot, and can get open. So yeah, I didn't put him on my list because I kind of don't know how his skill is going to translate to the NFL. Because again, I just think he was really misused in the scheme that he was in college. South Dakota State's one of they have a semi-pro style offense where they utilize a lot of heavy sets, but he was always kind of split out wide, which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have anything else to say about Zack Kuntz?
The man is a freak, and he should be higher on your list.
There you go. All right. Coming in at number 4, I have Sam LaPorta out of Iowa, and you have Luke Musgrave out of Oregon State. So Sam LaPorta is an inline tight end. He has that traditional inline tight end body type. The problem with that is he needs a little more functional strength to work as a blocker on the end of that line in order to extend the line of scrimmage, in order to keep those rushers out, or to provide some of that off tackle blocking for running. It's tough because when you think of Iowa tight ends, you think of these big tough guys who can get in there and block and do all these things. And he's a willing blocker. He gives maximum effort when he's doing it. He needs to work on technique a little bit and get functionally stronger in the weight room in order to hold up as an inline tight end. But he's a great receiver. Great receiver. He had an 85.3 receiving grade by Pro Football Focus. And this is a high character guy. Great teammate, great locker room guy. So you got to balance that. Good athlete. I really like Sam LaPorta. He just needs to clean up that blocking a little bit.
Yeah, Sam LaPorta, again, this is such a deep tight end class. There's a reason why we have so many different guys on our lists. And it's because there are just that many guys in this draft to kind of look at. Look, Iowa's such a great program. They churn out nothing but professionals out of there. I think that they fall a little bit short when it comes to developing some of their players or making sure they're well-rounded before going to the NFL. But they use them really well in their system and highlight them really well. They didn't ask him to block a lot because he wasn't great at it, and I don't know which of those. It's like chicken or the egg. Was he not really good at blocking because he wasn't used that way very much, or was he not good at blocking because he's just not good at blocking? So we'll have to see how he is at the next level. But yeah, but he's definitely he's a good tight end, and yeah, he's a good receiver.
All right, and you have Luke Musgrave out of Oregon State.
Yeah, let's talk. Oh man, Luke Musgrave. All right, so why is Luke Musgrave in my top 4? or even my top 5? That's a good question. It's because he is another one of those guys that I think has really, really high upside. Man, he's frustrating to watch. That is for sure. Sometimes he looks like a man amongst boys out there on the field, and other times he looks like he has no idea what football is, which is a little weird. But we talked earlier about polarizing guys. This, I think, is probably the most polarizing guy I have on any of my lists, because I think there are some teams that are going to be really, really high because of the skill set and the measurables that he brings to the table, and other guys are going to look at him and go, I don't want anything to do with this man.
That's actually a great way to transition, because he's not on my list for that reason. For me, he is a better Will Mallory. Right? He's ineffective in the blocking game, so you don't want him anywhere near a required man to block on defense. He's got a good receiving rating, right about an 80 receiver grade by PFF. He did not test as well as everybody expected. Everything we heard coming into the pre-draft phase of scouting was that, Musgrave's going to come in and blow the roof off this tight end group. He's so athletic. And then he came in and he posted pedestrian numbers. We had traditional inline tight end body types who were blowing his numbers out of the water. He only played 2 games in 2022. That was due to an undisclosed knee injury. So we didn't get a lot of details about what was going on. He only played 2 games. And I don't know, did that knee injury hurt him athletically? Is he still feeling some lingering effects from whatever was going on? I'm not sure, but he's not the best tight end prospect. He goes back into one of those, he's a big body receiver. And do we take a big body receiver at tight end if he might not be as athletic as people thought he was? I have him off my list.
So I'll say that, just kind of build off a little bit of what you said. The thing about Lucas Musgrave, and there are a lot of questions, which is again why I think he's off your list, but he's still on a lot of teams' boards because again, there's that potential. He's a big dude, 6'6". He already weighs 250 pounds. He's got a frame that you could probably pack on another 5, 10, 15 pounds to. So he's definitely going to need to get in the weight room. And if he is still a little bit slow coming off that knee injury, good, because he needs to get in the weight room and put on some pounds and learn to block anyway. But yeah, that's the big question, because I do think, I mean, like you said, everybody expected him to put up really big numbers in the combine, and he did not. Was that because of the knee injury? My guess is probably yes. And I think it's going to hurt his draft stock a little bit because, again, it's an undisclosed injury. They didn't really talk about it. I don't think he let the doctors check him out a ton at the combine. I think he left early. So we'll see what happens. But he's still pretty high on a lot of guys' boards, and it's again because of all those intangibles that he brings.
Yeah. Let's see at number 3. So at number 3, I have Darnell Washington out of Georgia, and you have Dalton Kincaid from Utah. I know you're really high on Darnell Washington, so
just a little bit.
I'll hit a few bullet points, and then I'll let you just run with it.
All right.
So he's a massive human being, right? And he's really athletic at 270 plus pounds. Just his size alone creates mismatches, because who are you going to match him up against? How many linebackers out there can cover 6'6", 270 pounds? He's a natural blocker. He had an 81.3 blocking grade. I feel the way he looks on paper, he's the best blocker in this class. He's working on his receiving skills, but he's an excellent athlete for his size. He has good ball skills. And we actually saw that in the combine. There was that throw that went a little off, and he was able to reach back and snatch it with a one-handed grab on national TV. It was fantastic. We all got a chance to see that. And he takes pride in being a blocker. In fact, I believe his Twitter handle has something to do with the 6th O lineman, because he takes pride in being able to be up there blocking with those linemen. I love him. I think he's got a ton of potential.
Yeah, that's why I'm so high. Look, I mean, you know me. It's been a pretty consistent theme with the guys that I picked at tight end. Potential's kind of where it's all at for me. This guy had the upside that Darnell Washington has is probably more than any other tight end to come out in. I can't even count how long. He could easily be Rob Gronkowski in that he can block anybody, push them over, outbox them, outbody them. He is going to make some quarterback look amazing, and I really hope it's Smith. If I really don't think the Seahawks are going to target a tight end in the first round, but if they do, this is the year to do it. If they can come away, there are two guys that I absolutely want them to come away with in this tight end class. One of them is Zack Kuntz. If they wait till a little bit later, because again, I think that he has the upside to develop into just amazing tight end. But number one for me is Darnell Washington, because yes, he's already a 6'0" lineman. That guy's huge. You already said it. 6'8", almost 270 pounds. The man is a giant, and he's strong. It's not that he just looks strong. He is strong. He could, if he wanted to gain 30 pounds, he could be an elite left tackle with his blocking skills. I love the fact that he's not going to do that though, and going to be coming into the NFL as a tight end. And I really hope the Seahawks try and find a way to target him, because this guy, yeah, I mean, he's Shaquille O'Neal on the football field.
Nice. Yeah. Just imagine with him on one side and Disley on the other side in a twin tight set, you're extending the line of scrimmage much farther than you ever thought possible. You could run through. Anybody could get yards behind that setup.
Yeah, you want Ken Walker to really build off his amazing rookie year. Bring in Darnell Washington, and he's going to run for 2,000 yards.
That's a pretty bold statement. All right, Dalton Kincaid is somebody that you have at number 3, and he's actually my number 2. So I'm gonna go ahead and advance that to number 2. Dalton Kincaid, he's another one of these receiver first tight ends. Kind of got a slight body, a guy who possibly skipped a few leg days in the gym, but elite receiver skills. Excellent.
Yeah, he's the best receiving tight end in the draft.
Yeah, he's going to beat a lot of wide receivers in receiver skills as well. I mean, he scored a 91.8 receiving grade. He's raw, though. He's raw at the tight end position. And I think a lot of that goes because he's just a big wide receiver. So he's a willing blocker. He'll get in there and mix it up. But he's not going to be somebody that you rely on to block anything more than just chipping at the line and then moving out into a route. So I like him. He's a lot of people's number 1 tight end. I value tight ends if they're more of a complete tight end than I do big wide receivers. But he definitely is one of the premier pass catchers in this draft.
Yeah, again, this is, I mean, I've said it a million times. This is such a deep tight end class. This is a guy that I think if you look back at some of the greatest NFL tight ends, they have a similar story to Dalton Kincaid. He was a high school basketball star. He couldn't get a scholarship to play football, which is what he wanted to transition to. Don't ask me why. Not that I mean, he, I don't know if he would have made it in the NBA, but he was a star in high school basketball. And you can see it not only in the way he's built, but the way he moves on the field. I mean, he's very, very fluid in his hips. When he boxes guys out, he does the kind of the basketball stance where he puts his arms up and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to cover the whole thing." Great wingspan, obviously a great hands catcher. He is the best pass catching tight end in this draft class. Yeah, if he can become a serviceable blocker, he'll be a fantastic tight end in the NFL.
Yeah, or it goes to a team that uses move tight ends more than they would use an inline tight end. So if he goes to the
NFL,
well, he can help any team in the NFL. All 32 teams, he would help. But if he goes to a team that uses schematically a more receiving tight end, then he's got it made. Now
you hear that, San Diego Chargers, or sorry, Los Angeles Chargers?
Yeah. Now you have Michael Mayer from Notre Dame as your number 2 tight end. Why is he your number 2?
Because he's not my number 1.
Well, there you go.
Oh, you wanted me to expound. So, look, this is probably everyone's consensus tight end number one. There's a few people that agree with me that there's one guy that's a little bit better. But for the most, I mean, what do you want from your tight end? You want to see blocking skills. You want to see receiving production in college. You want him to be a great team guy. You want him to be healthy all 4 years. Then there you go. Michael Mayer's your guy. He's what everyone looks for in the tight end: size, good speed, great hands, good blocking, smart play. Yeah, I mean, he's the most well-rounded tight end in this class, and it's not even close.
No. He's my number one. I'll go ahead and show the number ones. I have Michael Mayer, and you have Darnell Washington as your number one.
I do.
So I have Michael Mayer as my number one tight end because he is a traditional inline tight end who is well-rounded. He had almost the exact same receiving grade as Dalton Kincaid, who is bar none the number one receiver. But he also had near the number one blocking grade in this tight end draft class as well at 82.1. So he brings both skill sets to the table. You can do whatever you need with him. I don't think there were some comparisons to Rob Gronkowski that were going out as he was projected as the number one tight end going through the season. I don't think that's fair. I don't see that with him. He doesn't play with that attitude, that nasty, that chip on the shoulder that Gronk brought every time he stood on the field. Michael Mayer is exactly what you want in a tight end. He's going to do everything. He's going to do it well. And I have no problem with the fact that he ran like a 4.6 40. Like, great. Fine with me. Because this is a guy who can block effectively and then go out, and that 4.6 is still going to get me a first down. That 4.6 is still going to get in the middle of the field, give my quarterback an outlet to throw to. I really like this guy. I think he's going to impact any team that he goes to, and he could be a future All-Pro in this league.
Yeah, I mean, no notes. I mean, like I said, he's far and away the most well-rounded tight end of this class. He brings everything to the table that you could want. The only reason he's not my number one is because Darnell Washington could be something incredibly special, something we've never seen before in the NFL. There just aren't guys his size that move like he moves. I mean, the dude is a giant, and he was also in the top 5 in most of the athletic categories for tight ends. I mean, he's just a beast. I don't know what more I can say. I love Michael Mayer. I wouldn't be upset at all if he was the number one tight end off the board. He probably will be. But I do think there's a chance that someone's going to fall in love with Darnell Washington the way that I have and take a chance on him. And man, I hope it's the Seahawks. Not at number 5, but somewhere.
All right. Well, that has been the Let's Talk Seahawks podcast. Thank you for listening to our top 10 tight ends prospect list. We'll catch you next time. As always, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.